Well, hello there. How are you? This is Nicole Laliberte with Cowgirls and Spurs. Happy Tuesday. So I'm sorry I'm running a couple minutes behind. We start high school tomorrow, and we did our last minute, let's find our classes. They're doing block schedules. And so we had to kind of navigate our high school schedule. And then we went and got ice cream and came home, and it just took a little bit longer than anticipated. So as you pop on, come in and say hi. I'm a little discombobulated. I realized my dress bow wasn't tied, and I'm just a train wreck today. Come on in. I start high school again for the 4th time tomorrow. I love it. Hey Marge, how are you, hon? Okay, so we're gonna be doing, let me backtrack. So I have this beautiful antique cabinet, another antique cabinet if you haven't noticed. Hi Melissa. I have a lot of antiques in my house. I love antiques. And this one is a whitewashed barnwood kind of utility. Hey Brenda, how are you? Cabinet. And so I have just these plain wreaths that I decorate the cabinet. I've posted a couple pictures. Hi Patsy. Hi Kathy. When I post my wreaths, I usually use this utility cabinet as the backdrop. It's my pantry, all kinds of stuff. So I try and keep it plain, but it's time to switch into some fall decor. So I have my wreaths here so that we can add an embellishment bow. And what better way to make our bow than to create a new bow, hi Teresa, using the Laliberte bow block. So for those of you that are not familiar, this is my invention, and basically, I make a lot of wreaths. I make a lot of projects that require centerpieces, whether it's to decorate a teapot or whatever I can come up with. So I have arthritis in my hands, and I needed an extra set of fingers. And so you can see all the prongs on here. And so I'm trying to come up with all kinds of fun configurations of how I come up with bows in tutorials so that you can have this, because I sell these and I make them by hand using reclaimed wood. So sometimes they're a little bit wobbly and wonky, but they're all made by hand from me, and I try to use as many recycled materials to make these as I possibly can. So if you are interested, you can find these on cowgirlsandspurs.com. Hi Jackie. Thank you for sprinkling. I love it. We have to spread our goat love everywhere we can. Thank you so much for saying that. Hello, hello. Thank you. You are so sweet. Okay, so this is how I come up with my bows. Now, I'll go through the materials and then I'll show you how we're going to put it together using the bow block. So let me just set that aside. So whether you get ribbons from me, ones that I've made and I've antiqued and kind of used upcycled fabrics and I've turned them into ribbons, or whether you buy store ribbons or you have your favorite selection of ribbons, it really doesn't matter the ribbons. But for this project, don't go wider than a 1/2 inch, because the bow we're making today requires a little bit thinner of a ribbon. And when I say, let me just show you an example. So here's as wide as I would go. Okay, so this is one of my grungy ribbons made out of jean overall. This one's called jean overall. And that's about as wide as I would go. Now I've cut these to be about 3/4 of a yard long, give or take an inch or two. Hi Melissa, spun those spurs, I love it. So I have quite a bit of a variety here, and I'm going to show you what I have. So I have 2 strips of my grungy overall jean material, and I have some strips out, and I'm pulling strings as I get my ribbon. I have this muslin one. It has a little bit of texture to it just to add a little dimension. So I have some of those in here. So I'm just going to kind of I've got an accent for some reason today. I'm going to organize my ribbons. Let me put those aside so that I have them all kind of together. Now, as far as the quantity is concerned, that's going to be your call. How big of a bow you want to make, how, gonna have to go back and watch the replay about the bow block. Oh yeah, for sure. And you can always go on cowgirlsandspurs.com, and there's a tab that says the Laliberte bow block. You can read all about it. You can see my tutorials. I post all these videos. As I get organized, I start uploading them into that section, so you don't have to go searching for stuff in the video gallery. all the bow block tutorials, hi Teresa, will be in that one location. So I'm kind of discovering that I have a little bit of ADD. Like if something shiny distracts me, I lose tangents. So you'll notice sometimes when I'm going through my supplies, I'll mention I'm going to use something, and then I get so engrossed in our interactions or what I'm doing. Oftentimes I'll forget to use things I said I was going to use. You just have to show me some grace because I get distracted really easily. So I do the best I can. So I also have stripped out more of my burlap fabric to create some rustic, and these are literally a 1/2 inch wide, okay? And I like to leave, I'm gonna pull some strings on them, but I like to leave them kind of grungy. And so I have a couple strips of those as well. So you can kind of see how I put together my ribbons. And then I cut this other burlap that's white, just in some 3/4 yard as well. I have a couple of those just to kind of create some texture. And then I left a couple of those muslin with the texture wide. Now this is a little bit wider than a 1/2 inch, but I'm gonna see how it works and see if it'll work with this project. And if I like it, great. If I don't, I'll probably unclip it. I'll snip off my cable tie. Hi, Belle, so good to see you guys. And start over. And that is how easy this is. Cable ties and zip ties, these little guys right here, whatever you call them, they're super cheap. You can just clip it, start over, do it again. If you love it, keep it. If you don't, clip it, start over. That's the beauty of this. You can play around. And then I have some vintage fabric that I love it. It's so stringy and delightful, and it just has all these turquoise and greens and plums and oranges. It brings in the rustic fall that I'm looking for this particular bow. So I have a couple of those. And then I love working with salvaged linens. And so I also have another one that is just very subtle, but it also has some of those same greens with. And so this one might be a little bit too long. I don't know. We're going to have to see how it goes. And then my collection that is going out today, I'm still in the process of getting all my boxes together. I have this beautiful purple kind of scrunched up and grungy gingham. Buffalo check, it's a smaller check, so I think it's more in the gingham family. And I'm going to be using that today too. And these are too long, so I'm just going to rough cut them in half. Technical, right? That's how I do it. Okay, so as you can see here on my table, I have a lot of ribbons that I'm going to be using just for the one bow. And I have a second set here to make a second bow. So I'm just going to kind of set them aside. Now I want the Laliberte bow block to be something that is just a real helper for you. It's kind of like having a best friend that can hold everything for you while you get creative and you work your magic. So for this particular project, I'm going to need an attachable zip tie, and I'm going to need one that's going to secure the bow. Making fabrics, I also got 2 leather ones. That is leather strip checked out. I love it. I love it. You guys use any kind of salvaged materials that you can to make your bows. They come out more authentic. They come out more rustic. For me, it's primitive. I love it. I just absolutely love it. And then the other tip that I absolutely love to do is I used to have a vintage jewelry business, and I have a ton of vintage jewelry. It's part of the things that I put into my bling for my bling ribbons and bling deluxe box. And so I'm going to be using 2 these were clip-on earrings, and they were little, let's see if I can get my camera. Let me get my face out of the way. There you go. I'm sorry my nails are so gross, but that's where I'm at in my life right now. So I have 2 of those little embellishments that we're going to be adding to the center of the bows. They're super easy to wire cut, the backs, and then you can salvage vintage jewelry. You can get it for cheap. Not super popular to have clip-ons right now, and it's kind of old school, so they don't resell well, but they do craft well. So that's what we're going to be using as well. And so in previous videos, I've told you it's easier if you put your zip ties down prior to doing your bows. And so I always put one vertical. And so this is how it goes. It just sits right in between the prongs, okay? And it usually just stays put. And then I'm going to add another one on the top of the vertical one, going horizontal through the center as well. And I'm doing this upside down, so it may not be centered. But you want it on the top of your first zip tie, because that's going to be the one that you use to attach, say, in this case, to my wreath. All right, so I'm just gonna start layering and I'm gonna walk you through it as I go. So I think I wanna start with the white burlap in the back. Okay, and so in order for me, you can do your dovetail ends here, your bow tie ends if you'd like to. This is gonna be a very, I don't know, busy bow. So I'm not gonna cut my ends. I'm just gonna leave them raggedy, okay? Now the first one, I'm gonna come in at the diagonal, just like this, and I'm just gonna kind of position it how I want my loop. And let me explain that a little bit more, because I want you to be able to recreate this by watching the video. And I'm gonna try and hold these cable ties in place. So if you want a longer bow, if you can see, this is probably not, let me use a different one so you guys can see it. I'll use the jean one for now, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you put it into the diagonal position, my fold is here. But if you want a shorter bow, make your bow a little bit shorter. If you want a taller bow that's gonna flap, or you're using a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch wire ribbon, you can afford to come out a little bit more. It's really gonna just depend on what look you're going for. And for me, I want my bows my side loops to kind of stay in position. So I'm gonna go a little bit lower. So I'm gonna use my black prongs as my gauge. Does that make sense? So I'm going back to the white one, because now that you can see visually what I'm doing. And I'm going to do the diagonal, and I'm gonna keep I'm just folding it in half and pressing it in between the pegs. Okay? And I'm moving it down a little bit so that it's going across the center where my vertical cable tie is, okay? And I'm gonna do the other one on the other side. Sometimes I over-explain things because, you know, when you're watching me do it live as opposed to going back and watching my replays, I really want to make sure that I've got step-by-step going on with you. Okay, so here's the first little bow set. Can you see how I did the zigzag? Now the goal here is to make sure you're overlapping your zip tie. Okay, and now I'm going to start bringing in a little bit of dimension. I'm going to come in with my jean, and I'm going to pop over to the next peg space. Let me show you what I mean by that. So can you see? Here's the first one in between these two pegs here, and the second one goes into the other peg hole. And I'm just going to repeat it with a matching color on the other side. Just like that, using the black pegs as my distance, and then I'm just going to start layering. And I'll come into the next peg, go through the center, and drop it down the vertical. And I want you to see how I did that. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because when you, let me do the other one first so you can see, because when you zip tie it, it's going to scrunch everything together. And you want to make sure that you've got your tails hanging down right, but it holds the ribbons kind of in the position that you want them. Okay, so can you see that? So I went horizontal, and then I curved down and went vertical, or kind of diagonal, I guess. I followed the same path here. So I came in here, and I went straight down this way. My cable tie is still here, so when I zip it, all these ribbons are going to stay in place. So now you've created the shape of your bow. Are you with me on that one? Give me some hearts if you're with me on that one. Okay? And as you get good at this, it is going to be like super fast. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to repeat the process, but I'm going to bring it in a little bit shorter. And as you get good at this, I'm telling you, you'll get a bow done in 30 seconds. It's so quick, so easy. Now let me show you again, because this is a tutorial, so we're going step by step. The first one ends here, and now I brought this other one a little bit shorter. So I'm creating dimension, so they're not all overlapping. They're overlapping, but they're still sticking out longer and shorter. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, and I'm just gonna keep on keeping on, and I'm gonna bring in some of my purple, and I'm gonna come across the center here, bring in a little bit of my purple, come across the center here, bringing my legs down, bringing in some of this beautiful color. I want it to be in here, a little bit shorter. And before I zip tie it, I'll kind of show you what I came up with, so that you can kind of see how I'm coming up with this bow. A little bit here, a little bit here, and then I'm just going to keep layering it. Going across the center and bringing my legs down, bringing in some burlap, coming across the center here. So you can see how I'm kind of just creating a little bit of dimension as I go. Go here and just repeat. Whenever you do one side, you have your cheat sheet on the other side, so just repeat it. And then that way, it kind of maintains some uniformity when you actually close off the bow. Okay, I think that's about as much as I want to do. I have some extras here, but I don't know that I want to do it. So go ahead and zip it close. Actually, let me show you kind of where I'm at. You can see the beginning stages of this beautiful bow, okay? And now I'm just going to zip it closed. Twisting it. Just like that. Okay, let me bring it up before I get it too tight. And then I'm going to tighten it just like that. Look at that. How easy was that? Okay, we're not done, but I'm going to do the other one because I want you to have two examples. And so we'll do the other one. And now I'm not going to repeat the exact same technique. I'm going to try. I mean, I'm the same technique, but I may not do the same pattern. Let me bring in my second batch of ribbons. Okay, and I started with the white at the black peg for my distance. Same thing, I'm just going to layer it. So now I'm going to do one in real-time speed, how I would do this without a video going. So you can see how quickly it comes together. And I'm trying to eyeball the layers of how I did it. So we're going to bring this one down. And I'm going horizontal. And then I'm bringing it down, staying at my pegs. And then I think I came in with my vintage salvaged one. And I went shorter. My vintage salvaged one. And I went shorter. Now, when we're crafting for joy, we don't necessarily need to be whipping things out super fast because, you know, we're crafting for joy. So take your time. I just want to show you how efficient this can become. Okay, as I start to layer a little bit here. You with me? Let me see. I forget the, let's see where you at. You forget the zip ties. I did forget the zip ties. You're absolutely right. Okay, that's a perfect learning lesson. So let me just show you when you forget your zip ties. I'm telling you, girls. I'm telling you. Look how easy it is. So lift your ribbons up a little bit. Just lift them up and squeeze the babies back in there. And then come in. You can see how it's a little bit more awkward when you forget them. But that's how easy it is when you do forget them, because I do forget them a lot. That's what I'm telling you. I get so distracted sometimes that I just mess it up. Or I'll say, hey, I'm going to use this, and I never do. And I look back on my videos and I go, girl, what the heck were you thinking? Yeah, well, that's just my brain. It's just my brain. It doesn't always work for me. Sometimes it works fabulous, and other times I'm like, whoops, I hope nobody noticed. But of course you did. I put the zip tie in the first one, and I snuck in the zip ties on the second one. My accountability partners, I love it. I absolutely love it. And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep on going, shortening it as I get in there, and I'm going to add a couple more. And so they're going to look a little different, and that's okay, because I like things not to be uniform. I like things to be very random. And I want this one to be a little bit more random than the other one. Okay, making sure nothing fell on the floor. Zip, zip, zip. Pull it out. Tighten it. Oop. Okay, that one didn't stay in. Let me tell you how to fix it. So this is how easy it can be too. Now you just take it underneath your ribbons here and piece it in, because you know, life doesn't happen the way you planned it half the time. So you just gotta make do with what you can make do, right? We talk about this all the time. We craft for joy, not for perfection, and I make more mistakes than anybody because this girl's a work in progress. All right, this is how you fix it. I'm sweaty. It's hot in here. Okay. I'm going to put this way. I'm going to grab another zip tie. And I'm holding it in place. You will make these mistakes, I promise you. I've been doing bows on this block for quite some time now, and I probably make these mistakes once a day. Because either I'm not paying attention, or I'm going too fast, or I'm talking at the same time, or my kids distract me, and just like that, you fixed it, okay? It happens. So it's good that I'm doing this mistake on the video so that you can see how to fix it. All right, so I have my two bows. Here's the first one. Let me put my block out of the way because we're done with the block. And here's my other one. So you can see that they're a little different. And so we're going to embellish it. So here's the simple wreath that I was talking about. I think I picked these up, I don't know, at a, I think it was the 99-cent store. And they were perfect because they're just bland enough for me to be able to add a little something to them for the holidays. And that way it's just easy for me to change it out. And so I'm just going to slip my cable tie through one side, and I'm going to bring it up the other side, just sticking it through. This one happens to be on vines on the back side, and then I'm just going to attach it, making sure my cable starts to zip. And if it doesn't, you're backwards, and so switch your cable around until it starts to zip, and then just pull it tight until you get it in there and nice and snug. Okay, and clip it. And then this is when I like to do my little arranging. Making sure my bows are nice and rough. And I'm going to come in with my little bling and a little bit of glue right across the center of my bow. Attach a little bit of fall bling. And there's one. Just super simple. Just arrange it. You can tack it, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love it. Okay, let me put that one aside. Let me bring my another wreath up. These are cheap wreaths, but you know what? You wouldn't know it once you start getting it onto your decoration or your antique or however you're going to display it on your front door, on your inside doors. You know, I don't keep my wreaths just on the outside of my doors, because oftentimes I'm using salvaged fabrics and ribbons that are fabric, and they're not durable for outside use. And so I have those double-sided wreath door hangers, and I have a wreath on the inside that is for inside projects, and I have a wreath on the outside that is more outdoor durable. And so for me, it just gives me a little bit more of a variety so that I have beautiful things on the inside of my house as well as my outside. Okay, and so just get everything situated the way you like it. Fix your ribbons, making sure you're nice and tight. Come in with the cable tie. Cut the cable tie in the back. Don't cut your fingers. Okay. Add a little glue. Center your bling. While it's drying, you can fluff up your colors. Just like like that. Make sure it's dry before you hang it. And there's another one. How simple was that? Even with a little bit of mistakes. So I have two that are not totally different, but they're unique in their own right, so that they're not mirror images, but they're adorable. And how simple was that? We've literally been online for like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, because I made that little mistake. But you know what? That's how I roll. So I hope send one to your mom. I love it. She might get one of those. I don't know. We'll see. So I hope it just encourages you to create some bows, get some things in there, realize how simple it is. There's not a lot of wrapping with this bow. There's just folding and placement, making sure your cable ties are in place, because otherwise you have to reclip it, but it's an easy enough mistake to correct so you don't stress out, and get creative. And if you haven't joined my VIP group, I'd love to see your photos. I'd love to see what you make, because we're going through life together and we're doing this. So enjoy your Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Talk to you soon. Bye.